I was so excited watching him. Heard so much about him. Friends of mine in Chicago saw him play in college, but not only his play, B. Wood and Jared, the way he approached the game, the way it was no nonsense, the way he played. It was an attack. He wasn't smiling. He was about his business. And I was like, his jump shot, when it gets better, he won an MVP without really confident in shooting his jump shot. That's what was scary to me. He was a two-way player, and boy, was he athletic. I was amazed. I had to turn on Derrick Rose when he was playing at all times. And you know what, B. Wood? I'm still excited the way he's transforming his game, and he's still making an impact.
Yeah, Derrick Rose was just one of those special players that when you got on the court with him, you knew that he didn't move like everybody else. Like the way he was able, some guys are fast or some guys are quick. He was fast, quick, and explosive. Rarely do you see that combination of all three of those attributes in your point guard. Smitty, to get to your point about the jumper, his best move at that time was just going down the lane. And remember that little jump hook he used to just float over all his opponents? It was incredible. So Derrick Rose, before that injury, was one of the most intriguing, must-see players that the NBA has ever had. And when I think about guys that have got injured and their careers haven't been the same, Derrick Rose, Grant Hill, and Gilbert Arenas, those three guys are all in that special group that, man, you just wish they could have stayed healthy, because what they could have done for this league and just for their careers would have just been incredible.
I had one more, B. Wood.
Yeah.
Penny Hardaway.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Penny Hardaway.
Yeah, throw Penny in there.
So with all that said, B. Wood, is Derrick Rose a Hall of Famer?
That's a tough one. Because of injury, I would probably lean no. Because he was on his way to being a Hall of Famer, but because of the injuries, I would probably lean no, and that's unfortunate. I want him to get in, but if I was just looking at the numbers because of the injuries, I'd probably say no.
I'm going to lean yes, B. Wood, and the reason why is I'm going to say that MVP trophy, but also it's the Basketball Hall of Fame. It's on your high school, college, and NBA career. And if on that, he should be in.
Hey, I've never wanted to be more wrong in my life, Smitty. I hope I'm wrong as I don't know what. So
never?
I hope you're right.
This is the most? This one right here? Like nothing ever?
Yeah, nothing ever. Well, I did a radio show with you, so I was always right when I was doing that stuff with you. But on this topic, I want to be as wrong can be.
Jerry, you think he's a Hall of Famer?
I don't. And that's not me being a hater. It's just.
Did I say anything? Yeah, did you feel bad about what you said?
Well, no, it's in this day and age. This day and age, you disagree with somebody.
Hey, B. Wood, he said no. I
don't. It's unfortunate because
you got him nervous, Smitty. You got him flustered.
Not nervous.
He think you coming through the plexiglass.
He'd be the only league MVP not to be a Hall of Famer ever.
Wow.
And we'll talk in depth about what LeBron has been saying. Officially now the league leader in scoring. Steph Curry comes into tonight 0.3 of a point ahead of Bradley Beal. Dubs are in New Orleans. What an adventure the last 24 hours for the Blazers. Last night, well, we were going to talk about Damian Lillard and the Blazers, but instead we'll talk about the team they were playing. That's Trae Young. Should be fun tonight for the Hawks. They're taking on a Blazers team that beat the Celtics last night and then came to Atlanta at about 3:30 in the morning. Then had to be evacuated out of their hotel rooms due to a tornado warning in Midtown Atlanta. Boy, oh boy, it's going to be interesting to see if the Blazers are sleepwalking through this. They have been cruising, winning 4 straight. Well, how about Russell Westbrook? Yeah, he's got 21 triple-doubles over his last 28 games, if you're into that type of thing.
Say it again, Jared. That's big time.
21 triple-doubles over his last 28, but more importantly, the Wizards have won 12 of their last 15, and tonight they return home to take on the Pacers. Oh, buckle up. We've got a 3-hour special for you. He is the NBA champion, Steve Smith. I am Jared Greenberg, and let's slide into the program. The big 7-footer himself, the NBA champion, the UNC legend. I'm buttering him up tonight. He is Brendan Haywood. He's going to let us in his house a little later on tonight. Hello, men.
Why are you buttering him up?
Oh, you'll see.
Okay.
We got him.
I didn't understand that.
He knows what's coming along here.
Okay.
All right. There is no other topic other than LeBron right now in the NBA. Yesterday, the Lakers lost with LeBron back in the lineup for the second game. They lost to Kyle Lowry and the Raptors. How good was Lowry? LeBron, though, over his last 2 games, averaging 18 points, shooting 52%. But the issue now for the Lakers after losing to both the Kings and the Raptors is where they sit in the standings. With just 8 games to go, here we go. The Lakers teetering on going down into the 7th spot, which would put them in the play-in, which means they'd have to play their way in to the NBA playoffs. Last night, LeBron, well, let's just say he's not the biggest fan of the NBA's new play-in tournament.
Well, it doesn't matter at the end of the day if I'm not, 100% close to 100%. It don't matter, where we land, So, that's my mindset. And, if this happens to we end up at 6th or 5th or whatever the case may be, or if we end up in the, the playoff, whatever that thing is, whoever came up with that need to be fired. But whatever.
Okay, whoever came up with that ish needs to be fired. Can't imagine the league office too thrilled with that statement, considering the NBA Players Association, of which LeBron is a vice president for, approved the new play-in tournament this year. So, B. Wood, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on LeBron? Really? Why are you smiling? What are your thoughts?
I know, because you texted me before the show. But continue.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate you.
What are your thoughts on LeBron's comments?
I didn't really love the comments because, like you said, LeBron is part of the Players Union, and he signed off on this, and the players knew that this was coming, and I didn't hear any of this at the beginning of the season. I'm always a keep the same energy type of guy, and at the beginning of the season, I didn't hear any of this for LeBron. And so now that the Lakers are faced with the play-in game, now it looks like he doesn't like the idea of it, and I just don't think that comes off well. At the end of the day, LeBron never imagined in his wildest dreams that the Lakers would be in this position, and now that they're here, he don't want any part of that play-in game.
Yeah, and, I think there's a lot to speak to that, Smitty, about with these 8 games left now. The Lakers have some work to do. And listen, LeBron and company, they've been hit hard by the injury bug. They've been hit hard now. Dennis Schroeder's going to be out for the next few games, possibly the entire regular season with health and safety protocol. But there's also something to you put yourself in the position that you're in.
For sure. I think one thing is I like what B. Wood said, keep the same energy. You didn't text me, so I'm going to talk to B. Wood. So B. Wood, one thing I love about this is I'm looking at the Lakers. A couple questions I have. Yes, LeBron and AD, they're coming back. But I didn't see the energy from the entire group. You got to play with better energy. And then also for me, if you're going to play big, you got to play big. Toronto Raptors out-rebounded them yesterday, 49-44. So if you're going to have Drummond, AD, and LeBron out on the floor with KCP, that's a huge lineup. And I'm under the old school notion, if I'm going to play big, we're not going to be able to play fast because Toronto was outrunning them. Well, we got to dominate and post up. I saw too many jump shots for them. Go down in the paint and win, especially if you don't have your rhythm. So I'm a little concerned, and also to see how they're going to play these 3 centers when I know their best lineup is 80 at the center spot. When you have Drummond, you have Montrezl Harrell, and Marc Gasol, who says he needs to start and should be starting. So right. I can't wait to see how Frank Vogel.
Marc Gasol, he didn't say that.
That was several weeks ago.
Several weeks ago, B. Wood.
And he did not demand to start. He just was. It came as a shock to him that this was happening.
I can speak for myself and tell B. Wood what I was trying to say.
I just want to clarify.
Oh, okay.
Marc Gasol did not demand to start.
I didn't say he demanded.
Okay.
What did I say?
What did you say?
He said he asked he should be starting.
Correct.
Okay.
Let me put another point on this, and this is what surprised me about LeBron's comments last night. He's almost an old school guy when it comes to playing. Plays a ton of minutes. Plays a lot, right? And barely misses games except for significant injuries. He is a dude that has had to be forced out of games by organizations because he wants to play so much. So you admire that from him. But what I think needs to be understood here is the potential for this play-in tournament here in between the regular season and the start of the NBA playoffs has the opportunity to do a couple of things for the NBA. Number one, the excitement of the March Madness tournament, I think, could be there for the NBA. The number two is the television ratings. The number three, which is really trumping everything, let's be honest, is the extra revenue that it's going to bring into the league. And for LeBron not to see that only because they're in the position right now, the disadvantageous position of having to play in that game, is a little disappointing because this is for the greater good. It really has nothing to do specifically with the Lakers.
Is it for the greater good? When you talk about the revenue of the league, the the players will get a cut of that BRI, but the owners make way more off these playoff games than the players do. If you're telling the truth about this, players actually only get paid for the regular season. They don't actually get checks for the playoffs. Your checks stop at the end of the regular season.
Yep.
And so at the end of the day, this is going to, so the per game, they're going to be playing more games. Yeah, there's going to be more basketball related revenue, but their actual game checks is going to be less. You're going to be playing more games for free.
Brendan, without getting too much into the weeds of it, yes, you may not receive a paycheck in the playoffs, but the total revenue that the league brings in over the course of this basketball calendar is what determines what the salary cap is next year. So the more money the league can earn from these play-in games and playoff games will dictate how much money players will make next season.
The BRI.
Correct.
You're saying. Yes, but B. Wood is saying regular season. Your check stop.
Jared, I've done this for 14 years. I totally understand that. I understood how my salary worked. I was just saying that players don't actually get paid for doing the playoffs, and this is extra games where they won't be getting paid. I know that the BRI, whether it slides up or down, is going to dictate the salaries. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure if the playing game is going to be worth it for some guys. You know, some guys making $30, $40 million. I don't know if it's going to slide the scale up that high. But we're going down the road. We don't even need to go down.
All right. Well, the bottom line is the Lakers are in a weird spot. And now without Dennis Schroeder as well.
They play slow, and that's the one part that I was talking about. And you look at the backup point guard situation. THT, I love the way he plays.
Yeah.
Plays hard, but he's not a point guard. I mean, LeBron James is going to play pseudo point guard throughout his career, but without Dennis Schroeder, there was no breakdown of the defense. You look at Alex Caruso, plays a little bit of point guard, handles the basketball, but we didn't see this. Even if that's a miss, that gives a offensive rebound and lane to everybody. Because once I can beat my guy, and if I'm playing with B. Wood, whether I make it or not, and I draw his guy over, there should be no guard to get down on B. Wood to be able to box him out. And I think we didn't see that. There was nobody getting into the paint off the dribble because of quickness. They are a huge team, and I thought they should have posted up much more last night just to make the game slow, and pounded inside.
So the Lakers are technically in the 6th spot right now. Right behind them is the Portland Trailblazers, who are also in action tonight. While the Lakers are home for the Nuggets, the Blazers continue their long road trip in Atlanta. And, man, they have been great, right? They're on this 6-game road trip. They came into this road trip with a losing streak. We're like, what's going on with Portland? They rip off 4 straight wins to start this 6-game road trip. And now they had some unfortunate circumstances, as I started to get into at the beginning of the show, with the late arrival into Atlanta and this terrible weather we've had down here in Atlanta forced them out of their hotel room, where they had to go into a safe space inside the hotel that they were staying at early this morning. So we'll see how that bodes for Portland. But B. Wood, as you look at what Portland has left, this is certainly a team that's been hammered by injuries just like the Lakers. They would love to avoid being in that play-in tournament, get out of the 7th spot.
Yeah, Portland would definitely love to get out of that 7th spot, and for a while it didn't look like that was possible. But with the Lakers faltering down the stretch right now, Portland has the opportunities. What they have to do is they have to take care of business. They have to get these wins. It starts with Atlanta tonight, and they almost have to start treating these last 8 games like playoffs, like the playoffs. If you want to avoid the play-in game, then go out there, win as much of these games as possible, and put the pressure on the Lakers to try to win right now. Every time Portland gets a win, the Lakers feel it, because we don't know how available LeBron's going to be. Dennis Schroeder's not going to be there for the next 10 to 14 days. Anthony Davis hasn't looked like Anthony Davis all year long. And the Lakers are scrambling for answers right now. If you're the Portland Trailblazers, don't come out lackadaisical. Come out with the right focus night in and night out. Put the pressure on the Lakers to win these games.
And I would say is just looking at both teams, the Blazers, like you said, went through their injuries early. They're getting healthy at the right time. C.J. McCollum yesterday looked like the C.J. at the beginning of the season. So if you have a guy like that that can carry you a quarter or 2 quarters with Dame Lillard, and I think Nurkic is starting to get healthy. They need to get him going a little bit more, but he has these games under his belt. I would say, just looking at it on paper, no, the Lakers are more talented. But right now, without LeBron, without Dennis Schroeder, like B would say, I'm still waiting for Anthony Davis. We know it's going to take some time, but they don't have that much time. So I would give the advantage
time running out, Smitty,
for the Portland Trailblazers right now, because they're starting to look and round out like a team headed to the playoffs.
Coming up a little later on, we're going to talk to Dave McMenamin, who covers the Lakers, and we'll ask him about Anthony Davis, because that really is the big overriding factor on all of this, is whether it's been injury or a rough turnaround from last year to this year.
What I want to ask B. Wood then, I mean, we know he can play the 4 or 5, Anthony Davis, but after coming off this injury, what's better for him, Brendan, right now, and being able to have the advantage, I guess, quickness-wise against the 5, but also looking at the 4 last night, he struggled guarding Pascal Siakam with that quickness at the 4 spot.
Yeah, he really struggled against Pascal. Pascal had 19 in the first quarter, 39 for the game. And Anthony Davis is known for his defense. So it's been weird to see Anthony Davis struggle, because I'm not used to seeing this Anthony Davis. Even before the injury, he was only averaging about 22 points per game, around 8-9 rebounds. And while that would be great for somebody like me when I played, I would have loved to average those numbers. But for Anthony Davis, if we're being honest, those numbers are subpar for what he's been doing the last 4 to 5 seasons. So Anthony Davis started off struggling for some reason. I don't know what it is. And he struggled, obviously, coming back after the injury. And I agree with you, Smitty. I think his best position for these Lakers is the 5. Mm-hmm. And that's problematic, because now you have Drummond and you have Marc Gasol there. So how do you play the rest of these guys? And it really goes back to a move they made in the offseason, letting go of JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard. Letting go of those 2 guys is coming back to haunt the Lakers right now. I know when people think about that championship team, those won't be the first names that you remember, but those guys were important to that team all throughout the season and that championship run. They're missing those guys right now.
Yeah, and don't forget Montrezl Harrell,
yes,
too. They're trying to find some minutes for him. There was a game last week where he didn't even get on the court. So there is certainly a logjam, and this is what we've talked about, not just with the Lakers, Smitty. It's the case all throughout the league. When you have these injuries, or when you're wisely as cautious as you are to bring these players back so they are healthy for the playoffs, it costs you the opportunity to figure out who you are going into the playoffs.
Yeah, it is, Jared. And to your point is, I just looked at the Los Angeles Lakers. They lost speed. To Brendan's point, JaVale McGee used to run the floor, a guard pick him up, and it gave other guys easy opportunities, like Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma is another guy with size. They have everybody with size, but Dwight Howard cleared space. He knew he wasn't getting a lot of touches as far as just to come down and post up, but he cleared out space. I think other guys right now, they have a different style, and I don't think it fits the Los Angeles Lakers as well as those other guys did, because they understood, if you didn't play me, and you went Anthony Davis and LeBron at the 4, they were okay. But now you got Montrezl Harrell, you got Marc Gasol, you got Andre Drummond, you got Kuzma, you got Morris. All these guys are 6'9" and above. And then you got Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Those guys are 6'8" and 6'11". That is a huge team without anybody, without any quickness.
So let's wrap this up. We're focusing on the Lakers trying to avoid the 7 spot. There's 3 teams. There's 1 spot. It's the Lakers, who are currently in 6th, the Blazers, the Mavericks, who are currently in 5th, the Lakers, who are in 6th, and the Blazers, who are in 7th. B. Wood, which 2 of those teams avoids the play-in, and which one of those teams has to play their way into the 2021 NBA playoffs?
With the information I have right now, I think the Lakers are going to be in the play-in game. LeBron James is not going to play tonight, so there's a strong chance they don't get the win against Denver. We talk about LeBron James being out and Dennis Schroeder possibly being out. That becomes really problematic, because now they don't have a point guard. Anthony Davis has not played to the level to where he can carry this Lakers team right now without LeBron James. So if I'm betting on somebody, I'm betting on Dame Lillard and Luka. Those guys right now are playing at a high level, and they can carry their teams. The Lakers are in serious trouble right now.
Yeah, and I would say if my 2 teams would be the Lakers or the Mavericks. The one thing I look at the Mavericks, Luka can carry, just like B. Wood said. I'm still waiting for Porzingis. And if the Dallas Mavericks get in, I think there's so much wear and tear on Luka to carry going to the playoffs. But we've seen him. If you're a betting man right now, you have to say the Lakers. Without Dennis Schroeder 10 to 14 days, and without LeBron James tonight and possibly the next game, which I think is the Clippers, this is a tall task for the Lakers. But the Dallas Mavericks, I'm still concerned. There's Luka and who? It's supposed to be Porzingis, but you start going in the playoffs, that's going to put a lot of pressure on Luka, especially if he's in that playing game, to just carry this team by himself.
Yeah, Porzingis has missed 5 out of the last 6 games with an injury. And going back to what I was saying at the beginning, not that anybody in particular is rooting. I don't think any one of us has a rooting interest in this. But could you imagine the television ratings and the buzz around the NBA if LeBron James and the Lakers are in a 1-game playoff to get into the playoffs? That would be unbelievable.
It would be unbelievable, but the league probably wouldn't want that. I know I wouldn't want that. You know why? Because LeBron James is good for business. You don't want him to be in a situation where he could actually miss the playoffs in a playing game scenario. No. Remember the last time LeBron James was in the playoffs? The playoffs didn't have the same flair. LeBron James is
so
still...
So then you root for him to play his way into the playoffs.
I don't want it to be a situation, and his ankle's not all the way right. I don't want the Lakers to be in that situation. But if I was a betting man, I would bet they're going to be in the playing game. I have more faith in Dame's Blazers and Luka in the Mavericks.
You always want to control your own destiny,
right?
But if you're not playing, you can't control your own destiny,
right? Well,
that's the problem. That's where health and injury comes in, and that's where now you got to look into the next guy. Okay, now number 2 guy, Anthony Davis, has to be number 1. To be what talked about, I totally agree. Anthony Davis can lead your team. He's done that before, but he's not right. Now, who's the 3rd guy? Dennis Schroeder, he's out. Who's the 4th guy? So now you're going down the list. Is it Drummond? Is it Kuzma? Is it KCP? I don't know if those guys right now is slotted to go up 4-1, the number 1 option to carry the team for the next 3 or 4 games until they get back.
Stick shots, too. Take a look at this comparison. Wow. You don't see Giannis that often decide to go and take the ball and say, I'm going to go after it like this. But he drops 49 points, a new season high for him. Kevin Durant ties his season best. And we look at the East now, where it looks like it may go back and forth between Philadelphia and Brooklyn for that top spot. And keep in mind here why this is so important. If you don't believe home court's going to be significant, fine. But then do you believe in the easiest road to the NBA Finals? If you're in the 2nd spot, you will more than likely have to face the Bucks before you get to the other team atop the Eastern Conference. So that's what makes this so challenging. We're back with Brendan Haywood and Steve Smith, a pair of NBA champions. I'm Jared Greenberg. First, let's acknowledge, Smitty, what Giannis did yesterday, willing his team to a huge win. And in doing so, it almost makes you wonder if indeed the Bucks, although they have a significantly worse record than the last couple of years, are they better in your mind prepared to go deeper into the playoffs than they have been?
Yeah, I think so because of Drew Holiday. I think that's the one reason. I love their team. I think Drew Holiday is one of those guys that he can win games without scoring the basketball. He can make plays. I think about winning championships. You got to be able to have to do 2 or 3 things from your best players to be able to affect the game, and he can do that. I mean, he can become a scorer, he become a passer, and we know he's a lockdown defender or has 2 or 3 positions. What I love about him is he's okay allowing everybody else to be good on the offensive end, and he can score at the time you need him. You might not see gaudy points, but if you really want to just feature him, he can take over for a quarter or a half of a quarter. But what I love yesterday, Giannis has been an MVP. But in the playoffs, he's been an MVP for 3 quarters. And he's just been good or an all-star in 4th quarters. In yesterday's game, he was an MVP in the 4th quarter. And for me, it wasn't the points. It was the way he played, because he was touching bodies on the offensive end, and he wasn't afraid to get to the free throw line. And that's the reason why I love the way he played down the stretch, because he went to the line and he wanted to get to the line the way he played. If you don't play aggressive, you're not getting to the line in the playoffs in the 4th quarter unless you're creating contact and putting the onuses on the referees.
11 of his 49 coming in the 4th quarter. B. Wood, what's your take on not necessarily the home court advantage aspect of getting the number 1 seed, but trying to avoid, if you're Philadelphia or Brooklyn, Milwaukee in the 2nd round of the playoffs?
I'm all for it. I think you should try to get the easiest path. If I'm Brooklyn or if I'm Philly, I'm doing whatever I have to do to try to get the number 1 seed. I understand both of those teams are confident, but you have to understand that in that 2nd round, if you're taking on maybe the Knicks or the Hawks, those teams are good, but those teams aren't nearly as good as Milwaukee, and they don't have a player the caliber of Giannis. We saw what Giannis was able to do yesterday with the 49 points. We saw what he's able to do from an efficiency standpoint, and even defensively. Down the stretch, he had a play where he blocked Kevin Durant's jump shot. Like, I never see that happen. So I like the fact that Giannis took the challenge. He played big-time basketball, and if I was the Nets or the 76ers, I would be doing Milwaukee Bucks. Not because I'm scared of them or I don't think we could beat them in a series, just because I want the easiest path of resistance to get into a championship.
All right, so we've talked about the Bucks. Now we're talking about trying to avoid the Bucks. But who ultimately, Smitty, is going to win out that top spot, that coveted spot in the Eastern Conference? Is it Philadelphia or is it Brooklyn?
You know, if I was leaning, I would say Philadelphia because I don't know the health of James Harden.
Yeah.
And I think if James Harden is coming back, which I don't know, you have to help me with that. If James Harden's coming back, he still needs some time, but he's one of those players that definitely can get them over the hump. I don't know the situation where is Kevin Durant cleared to play every game or is it, back to back? We shall see. And they've had guys go in and out. I think right now, looking at on paper, I would have the Philadelphia 76ers probably will end up with the number 1 seed.
Yeah, Doc Rivers has talked in the last day or two about trying to make sure his team goes into the playoffs healthy as well. But, B. Wood, who do you got about the East?
I think I would agree with Smitty that if I was banking on somebody right now, I would go with the 76ers. I think they really are – it really means more to them to get the number 1 seed. I think that Brooklyn has a different level of confidence because of those 3 guys that they have out there and the level of experience. All 3 of those guys have been to the NBA Finals before and have played like huge MVP level like basketball at times in their career. So I think that Brooklyn has this confidence and this swagger like they don't need the number 1 spot. I think Philly's going to come out a little bit hungrier for it, and that's what I like to see. Also, we don't know about the health of the Brooklyn Nets. We don't know how many of these guys are going to be getting DMPs or going to be resting